So after you've tried those, hopefully you're seeing whenever sine is 0, tangent would be 0. Whenever cosine is 0, tangent's undefined. That's where your asymptotes are. Whenever sine and cosine are the same, tangent's 1. And that would happen to any of your pi over 4 family members, any of those reference angles. Or it would be -1, depending on which quadrant you were in. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just try to graph a couple of these with you. We're going to skip a lot of this, just to try to make it kind of as straightforward as possible for you guys. Alright, so as you look at this, for tangent, the period is always pi over b. B is that coefficient in front of x. Tangent repeats every pi, not 2 pi like sine or cosine. And then that number out front would signify a vertical stretch or shrink. It's not an amplitude though. Tangent doesn't have an amplitude. So that A is just kind of out there affecting our y's, just like it did in sine. So if I look at A, that period is going to be just pi. B is 1. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide the period by 2 to get my asymptotes. So period divided by 2, and I'm going to take one positive, one negative. So my asymptotes here would be at negative pi over 2, positive pi over 2. And that's how I always start my sketches. I'm going to center these graphs on the origin. 2 marks left, 2 marks right, those are your asymptotes. And so I've got my asymptotes. If you wanted to scale it more, these marks are evenly spaced, so half of pi over 2 would be pi over 4. Doubling the bottom is the same as cutting it in half. I've got my positives, I've got my negatives, so I have one full period. Negative pi over 2 to pi over 2 is 1 pi. And then my y values, I use that -1, 0, 1 as the middle 3 points. Right, so I've got those asymptotes, negative pi over 2, pi over 2. And then my y values from left to right are -1, 0, 1. So just like I did before with sine, cosine, I would multiply those by a. So this will now go -2, 0, 2. And that's going left to right, so I've got -2, 0, 2. And then I'm just going to connect those. Kind of look like a cubic, so it's increasing on the right side, decreasing on the left. And that's how I would sketch tangent. I find my period, divide it in half, one positive, one negative. So those are my 2 marks left, 2 marks right. And then my y values I'd always multiply by a. So -1, 0, 1. They're all getting doubled. So I've got -2, 0, 2. And that would be one cycle of the tangent. So let's try B. So that period again is pi, because there is no coefficient in front of x. So that asymptote would be negative pi over 2, positive pi over 2. It's a very similar start here. Making 2 marks left, 2 marks right. Those are my asymptotes. Half of that negative pi over 4, positive pi over 4. And then my y values, I'm going to take negative 1, 0, 1 and multiply them by a. Negative 5 halves, 0, 5 halves. So I'm going to sketch my asymptotes. And then I'm going to sketch negative 5 halves is negative 2 1/2. So I'm going to go down 2 1/2. And I got 0, 0, up 2 1/2. There would be my graph. This would repeat every pi unit, so if you wanted more cycles, that's what it would continue to look like. But that's the basic idea. That's the easiest kind of way I can break down tangent. Again, those asymptotes are occurring when cosine is 0, the 0 is occurring when sine is 0, and that 1, negative 1 are occurring when sine and cosine are the same, or 2 over 2. Alright, so we're going to pause it here, and then I'm going to go ahead and move forward to showing you what B would do and how that would affect the graph.